hello there and welcome to the Drax Files Radio Hour with Joe Yardley. My name is Draxter Dupre and Joe is back on the show. Hi, Joe.
Hello.
You know, last week I made a joke and said that you went away to Sansar and you're not coming back. And I got a bunch of IMs that said, my condolences. I didn't expect that. So I guess, can you clarify what's happening? Are you, in fact, leaving Second Life?
No, it is. I think I can say that. I have had my invite to Sansar, finally.
Yeah, I think we can say that. Right?
Yeah, but nothing more. Shh. But unfortunately, my computer does not handle Sansar or Pac-Man or pretty much anything. So it is. I'm just sitting there looking at my invite, crying all day. But no, I'm not. And I've said this before, dear listeners. I am not leaving Second Life until they turn the lights off.
Yeah, and neither should anybody else. I was just I want to take this opportunity to really say how stupid it is to kind of go on and on about this persistent myth that somehow as soon as Sansar comes out of beta and goes public, then kind of they turn the light off. That makes absolutely no sense. Yes, if everybody leaves and there's only you left, they probably turn the light off then.
Yeah, unless my regions are enough to pay for one server and one Linden Lab employee to check on it now and then.
That should be your goal.
Because then they're still making a profit.
Yeah.
It's America. It's the capitalist system. You're not going to shut down something that makes the money.
Anything for a buck.
See, Second Life is going to pay the bills for Linden Lab for a long time to go. It's going to take Sansar a while to make the millions that Second Life is making. So no worries.
Today's show is entitled What Second Life Means to Us, and that's of course kind of borrowed from the What Second Life Means to Me, a series of videos that was started by Ziola Linden, the social media goddess of Second Life and Linden Lab, and I think there's about almost 40 videos that came out back then, and we're going to play some of the audio for this very special show. The reason also why I wanted to name this show and kind of reflect on what Second Life means to us and kind of go back to that theme is that, of course, on February 20th, it is the res day of arguably one of the most important Second Life residents that has ever resed. What do you mean? What do you mean? Thank you. Oh my God! It's also your res day. Why do we have the same res day? This is really insane. We're both.
That's destiny.
Yes, it's meant to be. February 20th.
Yeah, it's a good thing that you're ugly. Otherwise, we should have gotten married or something.
There can only be one per year, though. I mean, I was 2007. You were 2009. We gotta check who came in February 20th of 2008.
To be fair, this is not my first avatar, so. But still,
It's the relevant.
It's the one that matters. Yes.
Exactly, it's the relevant actor who annoys people even outside of the grid by pushing back on their definition of VR, which is the perfect segue to a little bit.
That's not the only way I annoy people.
Right. Okay.
I'm very good at annoying people.
Okay. So one thing after next. First of all, teaser. About halfway through the show, we'll get a call from a super special guest who also has a res day that passed a few days ago. He's a youngster. He's a toddler. He's a total noob. And so we're going to ask him what Second Life means to him and what he has learned in those few years that he has been around. Not going to say who he is, but you got to wait for the call. The call's going to come in mid-show, and then we'll pick up the call.
Yeah, but if you are listening this on the Drax Files website, it's probably in the description.
You. Oh, wait. So does this involve time travel somehow? Did you just travel into the future after we actually recorded this and mixed it and put it on the website? Oh,
yeah, it's what I do. I mean, you can't resist mentioning it on the website to get more listeners.
I'm not going to mention it on the blog.
You so are.
No, I'm gonna
Yes, you
wait
are.
for 3 days and then I'm gonna mention
No,
it.
you're not. You can't resist it.
For Christ's sakes. Okay, then I'll just put him or her, whoever it is, on the thumbnail, on the featured image as well.
See,
Since it's on the blog. Who
I knew
cares?
that was going to happen.
All right, so before we ask each other the question what Second Life means to us and then play some of this awesome audio, I want to address quickly that there was a fabulous article that came out about Fran and Barbie from the Creations for Parkinson's project. I profiled them in Drax Files 13. So this is an article that was written by Kristen French and goes into detail about how people with disabilities use Second Life. We're going to link to that on the blog. It's a comprehensive, detailed, contextual blog post, which is far and few between, as we know. It also is not uncritical. It mentions that, I think it says Second Life is ancient in tech terms, which is not incorrect. And it's a style in which this issue is addressed of technological debt, which I can completely accept.
Well, the core of Second Life is ancient, but technically wise, I've seen modern day computer games that are very popular that do not look as good as Second Life does on a good computer.
Yeah.
But let's not go there.
Right, but she also, I think it's about. And that stuff is true. She mentions then specifics. Again, I mean, this is really a good piece of journalism. She mentions, for example, how hard it is to get dressed.
Yeah, she did her homework. It's gotten harder. It's getting harder to get dressed.
It really is. I actually dressed 2 avatars for a film, and it was like, oh my God, it took me forever.
Yeah.
Yeah, with mesh avatars and everything. And Bento.
Almost as long as it takes me in real life.
No, I mean, these are all workarounds, and we know that. Let's not dwell on it. But the reason why I bring up this good article is, of course, whenever there's something good in the context of Second Life, whenever there's like some little light at the end of the tunnel of bad press, there is a 2-punch of bad articles. And the 2 bad articles is one from the New York Times, where Second Life is being called defunct. A defunct, outdated game from the 2000s. And then, of course, I mean, it's just unbelievable. And this is an article about art and how art in VR is a game changer and it's never been done before. No, of course not. And then the other one that you are engaged with in a little fight on social media is through Upload VR, an article that says the very first wedding in VR. And 95% of our listeners go like, are you kidding me? There's a wedding every day in Second Life.
Yeah, it's one of the things that we used to get, attacked for. Second Life is so weird. People get married, all of a sudden it's cool.
Exactly. Oh my God, Joe, you're bringing up something that didn't even occur to me, because you're right.
People are going to have babies in VR soon for the first time, and again, we were vilified for that sort of thing in Second Life, and suddenly everyone's going, oh.
You are so right. This is funny. This is really the butt of the joke. This is really such a part of this anti-SL trope.
Trailblazers. Yeah, we are trailblazers, and people who go first get made fun of, and then suddenly everyone thinks it's cool.
Okay, so basically this article, and I would like to invite Alice Bonazio. Maybe I can get Alice Bonazio, who wrote this article, together with Kristen French, who wrote the article on backchannel.com is the website, kind of a Wired property, I guess. Maybe get them on the show and talk about journalism, tech journalism. Anyway,
the crux of the matter is always the same. It always goes back to what is VR, because people are not agreeing on it. And the neo VR community is saying it's not VR without a headset. And everyone else who has a brain is saying, yes, it is. Because we remember, because, the dictionary agrees with us. So, if they're saying it's the first this or that in VR, they mean it's the first this or that in headset VR. And then they're right, although Did someone perhaps in Second Life marry with an Oculus? I don't know. Don't think so. Anyway, the thing is, it always comes back to that, and we may never agree on that.
I think we need to get married real quick with an Oculus in Second Life, and then say, hey. But
we beat you to it. Yeah, go on. Someone in Second Life, go marry someone now with an Oculus on your head.
No, but this to me, again, and I really don't want to dwell on it, to me this really also has to do with how tech journalism is essentially rewriting a press release, and it's all just an infomercial, because they're hyping a new product, and they're hyping the redefinition of a type of an activity to equate it with a product that has to be sort of moved, and the units have to move, and to get the capitalist engine going, and that is not good.
It's probably not that deep. It's probably just some writer who joins a certain tech world and who has only heard of VR and tried it for the last 2 or 3 years, and it's all new to them.
And last word on this, Monica Joe, who was a guest on this show, who I met at SVVR last year, she actually got married in VR with a headset that was probably 20 pounds. And that was in 1994, and that was actually a headset. So even if the folks say Second Life doesn't qualify, that certainly does. So let's end this.
Yes. So it's still not the first wedding in VR.
It's so annoying.
It is.
One quick thing, Avatars Against Trump is a project that was started by Strawberry Singh and a few collaborators, and that's a Flickr group, and there's some real fun sort of pushback against the Trump madness in picture form. They also take videos if you submit them. And the interesting thing is, when this started and Linden Lab was speaking out against the Muslim ban, or what's being referred to as the Muslim ban, the ban of folks coming into the U.S. from 7 Islamic countries, I heard, and I didn't know this, people told me that people are now leaving Second Life because Linden Lab has taken a stand against this, with their little press release where they said
they should do that more often then.
Exactly. That's exactly what I said. I say, if you want to go because this company speaks out against a sort of bigoted policy, maybe you are in the wrong virtual world, because
to be fair, if Linden Lab had done the exact opposite and published an article praising Trump and saying he's A-OK and we love him to bits,
I would leave.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm not blaming people for leaving because
but it's a different thing. But here's a different thing, because I don't think this has to do necessarily with politics or against a specific person. What they did, this is really against something. They're taking a stand against something that the U.S. stands for, which is inclusion and freedom of religion, and also what Second Life stands for.
Yeah. But I'm a cynical old bitter woman. What they are saying, the Muslim ban, as Trump himself calls it, is also bad for business. So, you can rationalize it and say this is not about politics. This is not about being pro or anti-Trump. This is a company that sees the government doing something that is going to make things harder for them to invite people over to work for them. Employees may not even make it back into the country. Ebbe himself is one of those suspicious, weird foreign people, so God knows.
But he's a whitey. He's Whitey McWhite.
Yeah, but those Vikings, if you go back far enough, they were terrorists. Careful. Don't tell Trump that. But, if you want to be cynical about it, it's just a business decision. This is harming their business. It's all about money.
That's a good point. I mean, this is certainly a good point, and I would agree with this. Also, given some of the other Silicon Valley companies that are coming together and now all of a sudden are very active, including Apple.
And I know a few Lindens, and I think, of course, it's not just business. Of course, some of them really passionately feel this way. But if you have trouble with it, you don't, you can look at it as a business sort of deal. I don't understand the fuss.
The art of the deal.
They're not saying they're anti-Trump. They're just saying this ban is bad for our business.
Okay,
And
I'm going to throw in a random anecdote because people know that I've been to Istanbul and filming for the next Drax Files, which is really a big undertaking. I don't know; these videos don't ever get any easier. This one is going to be really complex. And I was at this open book market next to the Grand Bazaar, and there was a book. There was a Turkish translation of Trump's Art of the Deal, and a couple of rows down was a biography of Hitler.
what a coincidence.
Yeah, I took the Trump book and put it next to the Hitler book, and people smiled. I was not arrested. I'm back. Now,
They let you in. Oh, you're not in America.
okay. You ask me what Second Life means to me, and I ask you what Second Life means to you, and then we're going to play some audio, and then we're going to go maybe take a call from a famous person. Oh, wait a minute. We are famous.
Yeah.
So what does Second Life mean? What does Second Life mean to you other than the opportunity to tell everyone that they're wrong about VR?
Well, I do enjoy telling people they're wrong a lot.
Yeah.
But,
I know what Second Life means to you. It's about like kicking Nazis from your sim.
Well, that's true. Yeah, but I can do that in real life as well. That's even more fun. But anyway, I'm in real life, I'm an historical consultant. My entire house is decorated 1930s style. I wear only 1930s clothes. There is nothing in my house that is made after the Second World War except my computer. And I don't know much about modern politics, about what happens in the modern world. Yet I am completely immersed in virtual reality and doing all these complicated modern stuff. So I think it says a lot that I open a hole in the wall that I put between myself and the modern world to go and explore something so modern and something so alien to me and my lifestyle. Second Life to me is a way to do what I've always dreamt about ever since I was a little girl. That's to time travel and to share my passion for history with people from all over the world. And I get to do that, and it's fantastic. That's it. Nothing much.
No, this is great. So, but you never leave Berlin.
Very rarely. I went to go and check out the Huggathon yesterday, which I found rather frightening.
I mean, I'm not saying that this has to be. This is just fascinating. When, you didn't answer the question in the sense like somebody would say, "Oh, this is a great diverse place," blah blah blah,
No,
and then if that person wouldn't leave their sim, then I would say, "Wait a minute," but you didn't even claim that you were gonna. You said to you, it's your kind of sandbox of time travel, so you can do what you want, and that doesn't really require you to go anywhere else. But then why are you not an open sim?
Because there are no people there.
Oh, that hurt.
So I want to share what I do with other people. I love nothing more than being in 1920s Berlin and someone coming up to me and they're from Japan or Australia or God knows where, India, whatever. And they say to me, I've never been interested in 1920s Germany or even Germany in general. I don't know anything about Western history, or not much. And then I discovered this place, and now I'm learning German, and I'm obsessed with this 1920s German artist. And I've been reading 1920s German books, and I love that 1920s movie. And they become as obsessed as I am. And then I think, yes, exactly. I'm like a pusher of history. And I'm making junkies. History is a drug, and I'm selling it to children.
Better than pushing it on the playground.
Yeah, I know, that playground's a Second Life. I'd go there and I'd tell people, come and try the history.
Try this little history on for size.
Yeah, go on. Only once. You won't get hurt. You can't harm.
Before I go on with how I would answer this question, I'm not going to answer because I think people know how I feel about it.
Do it anyway.
Yeah, I'll be very brief.
Yeah, do that. That's a good idea.
Second Life to me means an endless garden of creativity is exactly what I said in the video, and I think the world. This sounds awfully hippie-ish. I know I got the hair to prove it.
Endless garden of creative. It's like a hipster sandwich bar. My God.
No, but what I was meaning to say is that coming up on my 10 year now. I mean, I'm 10 years in this place, and I think that creativity or this kind of just finding something that is you're passionate about and sharing with others with this sense of presence could make the world a better place. It's a good thing, and I hope we don't lose that. And I hope Linden Lab captures the secret sauce and gets over to Sansar. You know, the secret sauce being this kind of diversity and the access to the tools and us. That's right.
Creativity.
And Second Life to me means the people who are doing something meaningful, what they regard as meaningful, and I'm not the one to judge.
I am.
Exactly. That's why we're born both on the same day, brothers from another mother, or
brother
siblings,
twins. No, it's different year.
So I want to play a couple of as we wait for our special guests. I want to play a couple of audio tracks from these videos that were submitted. Strawberry Singh actually has 35 of these videos on her playlist. We're going to link to it. You can watch them all. I want to start with Priscilla Avro, Silly Avro, and then I want to play Nariko Okawa, and then I want to play Anya Omai, and I want to finish it up with Loki Elliott. I mean, this is not a testament of some of the others that these are better or whatever. They are all really good, and it was awesome that people submitted these videos and were not afraid to be judged and were very personal. So let's play that audio, and let's see if the phone rings a little bit later. Here is what Second Life means to her, Silly Avro.
In Second Life, my name is Silly Avro, and this video is all about what Second Life means to me. I came to SL in 2007 as an educator, and I quickly learned that there was a lot that could be done here. Second Life is an incredible learning experience. It is what you make of it, and it's everything you imagine it to be. Second Life has enriched me in the skills I have learned and the friends I have made. It's like nothing I have ever experienced before. It's magical.
In Second Life, I am Nariko Okawa. I left my real-life job teaching visual arts and photography in Singapore to put my time into Second Life in entirety and develop myself into a SL photographer, realizing the photo shoots that I wasn't able to do in real life. I spent most of my time squatting on top of the roof of my SL friend and turned real-life friend, Silly Avro, littering her sim with blogger boxes and vendor prints. What is Second Life to me? Well, I use Second Life as a creative platform to express myself and my feelings and turn them into magical images. I usually get asked how my ideas came about. I'm inspired by a lot of things. Sometimes it's an actual depiction of what happened in real life or how I'm feeling at a particular moment, and I turn that into an image. Other times I'm inspired by the music that I listen to, places that I travel to in real life, or fashion shows, or whatever that is happening in real life. I was able to translate that into SL photographs and allow my Flickr and blog followers to peep into a very small part of my thought processes and my life in general. So in 2014, together with my very good friend Renra Cerise, we started Visionary and Visionary Institute as an institution in SL to share and teach what we know of SL photography to like-minded SL residents. If you ask any of our graduates, they will normally tell you that the whole Visionary experience is always an emotional and difficult journey, because we always try to reach into their very soul underneath their disguise of an avatar in Second Life.
In Second Life, I am Noriko Okawa.
In Second Life, my name is Anya Omai. As an artist and creator, Second Life is a place where my daydreams can run free. As a child, I was never encouraged to do anything artistic. Being an artist was an act of rebellion in a very traditional and conservative society that I grew up in. Because I wanted to fit in and I wanted people to accept me, I took a business major in university that I had absolutely no interest in, but I pursued artistic hobbies in secret. In fact, if it weren't for my real-life sister, who later on also joined Second Life, I would never have the courage to reveal this part of myself to the outside world. Second Life is a part of my growth as a human being, so when people ask me, is Second Life a game? I find it so hard to explain because, yes, it is a game, but for artists, it can act as a medium, and for someone else, it can also be an extension of themselves. When I look at Second Life, I see a world bursting with creative energy. It is a place where magic can take place. And as a young child, I've tried so hard to fit to society, and I convinced myself that magic shouldn't exist and would never exist. But as an adult, Second Life has proven me wrong in an absolutely wonderful way.
I grew up in a small English village, watching movies, reading comics, playing video games. I studied art, then left college conflicted. I wanted to do it all, not have to specialise in one profession, you see. I wanted to do what I felt passionate about, not what was required by someone else. I wanted to explore the new ideas, not just conform. When I stumbled upon the Second Life platform, I didn't realise it straight away, but here was a place where all my creative interests, illustration, storytelling, gaming, 3D modelling, music, it all merged together, and with an audience to witness it all. And it's that audience that completes the whole Second Life package. Unlike other social platforms, in Second Life people can experience your work. They can step around it, step into it, see every tiny detail you put into the work, and then walk over to you and discuss it with you, even collaborate with you. I don't think you get that sense of shared presence around digital content anywhere else yet on the web. Life isn't localised either. There is no separate servers for the US, Europe and Japan. This has led me to form an amazing diverse group of friends from all around the world who share bits of each other's cultures. And it's constantly changing. It's a living thing, full of sometimes hilarious bugs that you just learn to accept as part of the craziness. And it has its fair share of drama. Some people are like, virtual reality, I prefer the real thing. Well, of course I prefer the real thing too, but not everyone gets to have that real thing, whether through disability or social stigma. Second Life is giving so many people, including myself, a bridge to socialise and gaining support and friendship, and I'm very proud of being part of that. My name is Loki Elliott, and in Second Life I create whatever I want.
All right, so that was Loki Elliott. And there's plenty more. There's about 40 or over 40 videos with really great personal stories. Joe, so as we're waiting for our special guest is not Michael Linden, unfortunately, because he just left.
Yeah, I wonder why.
I don't know.
After 13 years.
Spent more time with the family. That's what politicians say. Anyway, this is completely random. We're waiting for our a special guest call. The Skype should ring in just a second. But Michael Linden, I met, and unfortunately, there's a bunch of really cool What Second Life Means to Me videos from Linden's, but not Michael. And he gave me the little cube. This promotional cube that lights up.
I want one.
Little night light.
I want one.
Oh, wait. Hey, Joe, somebody's calling. Who is this?
Hi, this is Ebbe.
Ebbe. Oh, my God. Ebbe. Well, thanks for calling. You know, Ebbe, I want to ask you, because it's our Res Day, my 10th on Monday, and Joe is a mere 8. But yours has been 3 on February 10th, because there are people who are checking up on this. I know, we should be married by now, Joe and I. But for you, Ebbe, you are a toddler in Second Life years. So what have you learned in these 3 years in Second Life that you, and I want to say this thing, it's public knowledge that you were familiar with Second Life sort of from the outside, and your son had an illegal account and was arrested and spent time in prison for... No, that's not true. But so you had a knowledge, but now these last 3 years from the inside, what have you learned? What has totally surprised you in a good way, in a bad way?
Well, specifically about Second Life, or about, life in general, or Linden Lab, or what's...
That's a good question, because for you, Second Life is kind of synonymous with Linden Lab, because you came in to lead to take over the ship. So
yeah, what has surprised me, I think the resiliency of Second Life and the users, I think, is very surprising. I think the incredible passion, I think, both on residents in Second Life, some of the newcomers into Sansar, as well as the employees, that we're all doing something that is trying to improve people's lives, people's ability to communicate and create and socialize and find relationships, and just a sort of such a huge shared passion, which sometimes can become, sound like anger, but it is really, it's really passion. And so having that shared passion is something that I wasn't really aware that I was going to walk into. That's really awesome.
That people really care, you mean, like that they're really kind of willing to, I don't know, if the ship has like some planks are missing or some screws are loose, that the people are helping you to repair that ship, that kind of thing?
Yeah, I think it went, when I first got here, I think the relationship between us here at Linden Lab and the residents in Second Life was a bit broken. And it sounded like a lot of anger. And nowadays I hear very little anger and a lot of just constructive criticism or ideas, or what about this? Or so it's a much sort of more I think useful relationship, where we can come to understand each other better. And we're seeing the same thing with Sansar. Some people come in and go, oh my God, it doesn't have this, it doesn't have that. And then you're starting to see the community go, come on, it's a baby. Let's figure out together what we can do to make it better and not start getting all negative all at once. So that's great.
I would really like to give you credit, your leadership credit, for kind of spending a lot of time to repair the relationship between Second Life residents and Linden Lab, because the relationship was contentious, and I think it has never been as good as it is today, even under, people tend to nostalgically look at Philip's reign as this was sort of the best of times, and then M. Linden always like, oh, that's when everything went downhill. So M. Linden is kind of the Donald Trump of Second Life in a way, which is also unfair. But what did you do to repair, or what would you say was the work that you did that resulted in this better relationship between residents and Lindens?
Yeah, there were some specific steps that had been taken to, try and control the type of relationship employees could have with the residents, and I think that obviously had gone way too far. I think it's strange when you can't trust your own employees to have a good relationship or an intelligent relationship with your customers, and not allowing your employees or not trusting your employees to be able to have that relationship. So we obviously spent time talking about what is sort of sane ways of interacting with customers, and what are not so intelligent ways of, interacting with customers. And also, I think a little bit of, instituting a little bit of software development discipline. I think part of the success of Second Life, I would say, but also part of maybe sort of the pains was, a very anarchistic sort of way that it came about. And so you had a lot of chefs in the kitchen, where every employee felt fully empowered, which is great on one hand, but you need to have some sort of, direction that you're heading. And when everybody's just throwing stuff in there, what they want or what some user asked, and I think you get a product that looks a little bit like Second Life, which is, I would say, to most users look extremely complex and intimidating and at times frustrating to use, because it was just not necessarily very strong discipline in thinking about the user experience or priorities. And so it became a little bit of a stovepiped kind of crazy thing. And, part of that relationship, though, I think was part of the success too, that, there was a strong bond and community between employees and residents. It's just, we're trying to find a good middle ground where we still have sort of very thought through what are the priorities and what are the sequence of things we want to do, and at the same time allow the employees to hang out with residents and not instantly start promising or delivering arbitrary things, but at least listen and understand, so that when we sit inside here and determine what's important and what's not important and what are the priorities, we have more intelligence because we've spoken to the users and understand better what matters.
Now I understand. It's interesting what you're saying, because I seem to hear now that one of the big issues, I'm speculating that why relationships is a tough word. I mean, communication between Linux and residents was kind of cut off under the previous administration, was because maybe the chummy relationship then led to expectations in terms of promises of special deals or whatnot.
Some of it might have been that, and also without having, clear communication internally about what this relationship, what are healthy ways to interact. I think there were probably some people that, employees that took it too far, whether it was how they acted with customers, what they promised customers, what they said to customers, or how they behaved as residents themselves, that might have crossed the line at times. And, there was also, quite a few things going on over the years that were sort of a little bit sketchy, as far as subject matter or types of content, and what is, sort of towing the line on what's appropriate. And so someone somewhere probably wanted to try and sort of wrestle control of it, and they maybe just did it in a way that I wouldn't have done it, but
Somebody went rogue.
Well, someone decided to try and
build a wall,
reduce risk. Yeah, exactly. Well, reduce risk or whatever, but
by just deleting stuff.
Yeah.
Much more important, when are you going to fill up your profile?
Yeah, it's your 3rd birthday, man.
I saw you guys ragged on me for my shitty profile. Yeah.
Yep.
I'll find time here in the next day to put something in there.
Yay! Well, you can always give me the password, and I'll do it for you.
If Trump has a staff to tweet for him, you must have a staff to fill out your profile.
I'm not a big fan of profiles. I'm more a fan of sort of human-to-human interaction,
and you've actually been spending time in there. Let's not veer too far off the theme of the of this podcast is what Second Life means to us, and we played a bunch of audio. So let me ask you specifically, what does Second Life mean to you?
What is Second Life, or Sansar in the future for that matter? I mean, it's a little bit like asking, like, what's the point of life, right? What do we do in the physical world is we create spaces or inhabit spaces, and we create social relationships, and we do all kinds of interesting activities, whether it's art or exercising or playing, and having friendships. And
when people, Ziola put this out a while ago, and then people came in with very kind of personal accounts. So one guy says, Second Life to me means that I can be creative because my parents made me go to business school and I never liked it, and blah blah blah. Then somebody else says, well, Second Life to me is like a place to relax in the evening. Or somebody says, Second Life to me is a place to overcome isolation because through my disability I cannot move. So when I ask you this question, think of it maybe as in your role as the CEO, maybe, because you have a completely different perspective that is probably a lot more all-encompassing than some of these very narrow, definitions, because these people have just this they have a very specific personal use case why they even log in, That's kind of where I'm trying to go.
And that's the interesting part, is when we talk to users about what they want, we hear so many different things. There's such a huge spectrum of what matters to people and what this is doing for them and what they hope it can do for them. I think very generically, sort of a platform that empowers users to create whatever they want and, be able to do whatever they want, within the bounds of sanity and legal frameworks. And
what country?
So what can we do to enable as many people as possible to create and have these experiences? And I think part of the success, and it's a really tricky balance, because the more generic, the harder it is to describe what it is, because it's not just a messaging product or not just this. And it means so many different things to the artist, to the musicians, to the teacher, to the health professional, to the architect. For them, they think completely differently about it. And so not being able to have that narrow, very precise definition of what it is when it's so broad, it's tricky, and also makes the tool set that we have to provide quite generic, which some people then find difficult because it's not sort of super streamlined exactly what it is tended to do for what you think is most important, whereas someone else thinks something else is more important. And so finding that balance between something that's easy and obvious, and it still provides this incredible vast array of different types of use cases that meet completely different people's needs for completely different reasons is sort of, to me, it's a super fascinating puzzle to try and find the right path for.
When you go in world, what does that mean to you? When you go in world, is it kind of I don't know. I always jokingly say here that the king goes amongst the common folk, and or is it like the that reality show where the CEO goes with their employees? But I mean, the residents are not your employees; they're your customers. So what when you go in the world and you interact with people, what are you trying to?
Maybe it's more like the emperor's new clothes.
No, for me, it's more just trying to just be another resident, and just having the same sort of feeling of being part of something and being with other people and experiencing things just like every other resident does. So I'm trying to just be a resident out there. I'm not, maybe with an eye on what could we do better in a different way than others would, but in general, I just want to have these moments that other people, and moments that become memories and, enrich my overall experience in my life. I mean, no different. Yeah.
I think that is probably most fascinating, that people have memories. I mean, Joe and I talk about it often, that we have memories that we talk. I mean, they're on par with memories that we have in the physical world. I mean, there's really nothing strange for us about this. But still, I think in the general discussion out there, and it's my next question, this may still seem very strange. Now we're moving towards the virtual reality hype. We're in the hype.
We are the hype.
I asked you this before, right? But do you think that people will adopt specifically creative virtual worlds en masse, or is that just by definition when you have kind of creativity involved? I mean, that sounds very cynical of me. Is that by definition just like a niche?
No, I think it's gonna get very, very broad. It's going to take time, though. As usual with things like this, people overestimate or overassume what it's going to do in the short term and completely underestimate how impactful it's going to be in the longer term. I think it's going to take many years to go beyond niche, but between now and then, it's going to be extremely useful for a lot of people, and. Whether it's cost or ease of use or quality of content and experience and stuff, it'll start to add up, I think, here in just a couple of years to be an incredible medium. And I was thinking about this on the way in because you mentioned memories. I think different people are sort of differently wired. I'm a very visual person, and so it's easier for me to have extremely strong memories of virtual reality experiences than it is for me to get that same memory out of watching it on the PC. And there's something about that sort of, some people call it immersion, whatever, that it just goes straight into my brainstem and just planted. So I remember Drax, when you and I were talking on the sidewalk of the city street in
Sansar. We're talking Sansar, yes.
Yeah,
that's right.
And there was a group of people on the other side of the street sort of mumbling that we could hear them talking over there, and you and I just have that could have been you and me just in physical space. That is how embedded that memory is to me. For Second Life memories, or even in Sansar when it's on the screen, it has to be so much more powerful of an experience for it to embed itself in that way for me. So there's something about VR that just
you're there.
Yeah,
you're actually there.
And I'm feeling it, and I don't have to translate it. And I think that's where, for Second Life, I think a lot of the fantasy in Second Life comes from a lot of the users who are able to get that level of immersion by applying their own fantasy or on top of it. Whereas for other people, it's like, whereas in VR, you don't have to work as hard to have it just hit you.
The snob in me who reads big novels, and Joe goes like, "Oh, here we go again every week, the same shit." Yes, I do read paper books, and I like to train my imagination. Yes, no, but Ebbe is correct. I mean, I think, and it's good that you sort of self-identify as this type of person. There are different people, and I would totally agree with you that this is.
I read books too, but I can only read a couple a year. I read a
Because
ton.
he has a real job, Drax.
No, well, I read all day, but for me to like really get into a book, I need like a week vacation. It takes me 2-3 days to just get to a state where I can just dive into a book and finish it over several days. And it's usually some Swedish detective thingy. But I'm there, but it takes a huge amount of energy and days, whereas in VR, it can take a second. And I would say doing it on the PC screen, it might take minutes or hours, you know? So it's just how quickly it sort of just hits you.
What I find really fascinating is a lot of people, especially from the disabled community, I wouldn't single them out, but there's people who have really bad machines and they feel completely immersed. And I think we talked about this before. This is to do with the investment that they have in the community.
Yeah, I think the success in that community and why it's such a large and successful community is because they just have a greater need. Mm-hmm. So they're willing to work harder to overcome the barriers to get to that point of getting the reward.
I think it's also
they need it, whereas other people might fly by and go, what are you going to do for me right now? Well, you didn't give me what I wanted right now, so I'm off to, playing something you think on my phone. Whereas people that must find a way to connect with other human beings or have an ability to create something because of their physical or whatever situation, I think they just have a higher willingness to sort of penetrate all the barriers and walls to get return on their investment, so to speak.
Well, and then there's also the avatar thing. I mean, no other virtual world that I know has the amount of freedom that we've got in Second Life. And, immersion, part of the immersion is also seeing your avatar. If you're not inside virtual reality yourself, if your avatar really is you, because you've spent so much time shaping it, you also get a different kind of experience, which is also unique.
Yeah. And that's a double-edged thing again, right? Because the flexibility we provide creates an incredible amount of complexity. So for a lot of people, that is what turns them off, is that they come in and they try to make their avatar look like they want, and the toes stick out of their shoes and the shirt doesn't fit, and like, come on, and they give up. I have an incredibly low success rate decking up my avatar. Every now and then I go into the marketplace and I buy something and I try and put it on, and it looks just completely broken, and I just get frustrated, and I spent X lindens, and why did I even bother?
Yeah, I certainly wouldn't like to defend the complexity of getting dressed, but I think Joe was also talking about the flexibility, which is acknowledged even by critics sometimes outside, that the way you can tweak your avatar and express yourself, I don't know, as a furry flying toaster oven or some weird looking humanoid or a complete replica of yourself, really high res. That is there's no other game or world that has that at this point. So
yeah, it is really strange for me as an experience that when I see my avatar and her hair doesn't rest, so she's bald, or worse, her clothes won't rest, I am embarrassed. And I find that, I personally find it a really strange experience, because I'm very skeptical about, having a strong connection with a bunch of pixels. But then it happens to me and you go, why am I embarrassed? It's a graphic.
No, this is the part of the secret
sauce. It's a reflection of you. So it's how, what are people going to think about you now, running around half rest?
I think this is completely important to understand going forward, the way people identify with their digital alter egos. But last question, Ebbe. Now, every once in a while, okay, who are we kidding? Almost every day, an article seems to come out. It seems that almost every day, an article that uses this convenient punching bag, Second Life, to kind of punch. It's almost like the editor in the morning say, okay, it's a slow news day. What can we do? Oh yeah, we can make fun of Second Life or say that it's kind of a place of losers, that was a failure. Okay, great. Go out and find something, find a visual from 2008 and write something. So today, or a couple days ago, was a fabulous article by Kristen French on Back Channel, kind of this Wired subsidiary. It was well written. It was not uncritical. For example, it mentioned that, it's a mess getting dressed and stuff like that. But the way she put that in there is very good journalism. Then a few days early, I forgot when it was, but the New York Times had something about art in VR. And, you can argue what VR is. Let's just leave this aside. Does VR require a headset and all this debate? But the guy said that Second Life was a defunct game from the early 2000s. Now, I just want to ask you, don't you get really mad and have to punch a bag or something? I mean, when this stuff comes out.
I mean, it would shorten my life if I got angry at every negative thing that came at me, whether it's from users or press or whatever. Like you at some point you gotta pick your battles, or you're gonna go absolutely stir crazy. It is frustrating when but I've been in the media space long enough, and what they're trying to do. They're trying to get clicks and page views, and VR is a hot topic right now. 3 years ago, you could have talked to anyone about VR or Second Life even, and no one would even give a shit. And then suddenly, Oculus sold to Facebook for $2 billion. Now everybody wants to talk and write about VR. And so in aggregate, I look at that as a positive thing, because as all of these things get said, ideally not negative shit about Second Life, where ideally they would actually understand what tremendous value it's created. And when we speak face to face with journalists, which we've done a lot, Pete and I do it all the time, it pretty much always turns out okay or good. It's the ones that are completely uneducated, like, I don't know who this New York Times person was. I haven't even looked. Then it's uninformed. But when we bring people in here and we get a chance to sit down and talk and explain the history and what value this delivers and what people have accomplished, and how it's improved people's lives and all that stuff, and the tremendous experience that has given us as a company, and what we're there also then trying to do with Sansar, it's always like, yeah, this Second Life is the best virtual world that has ever been made. There is but you could also argue that a bunch of mistakes were made that made it more complicated or more difficult, or, hey, it's not growing, right? So there's got to be something wrong. So it's easy to criticize it because it's not, a continually growing and ever expanding thing. And that as soon as something doesn't grow or slows down or starts heading in the other direction, then it's I don't know, sometimes I feel it's a very American thing. Then it goes from success to failure, as opposed to being what it is, which is a success.
You're putting the finger right on it. I mean, it's a different thing for a company that needs to grow or to just classify everything that is not growing as a failure. While I think it would be helpful to also call a niche as something that is as sustainable as Second Life for that long, by any measure, should be called a success in my book. But
Absolutely.
But I'm a communist.
In aggregate, to this day, even today, is an extremely successful product. It's extremely profitable for us, and it's extremely profitable for a lot of users, and it enriches and improves a huge amount of people's lives. How would you not call that a success?
All right. On that note, it was all about what Second Life means to us, this show, but obviously we can conclude it's all about the dollar dangling in front of our faces.
Yep.
On that note, have a great week, everyone.
Let's find some other time soon to talk more.
Good idea. Next week.
We got another call. Who is this on the phone?
Hi, Drax. This is Fran.
Fran, amazing. So, I've been reading a lot in the on the internet about you, and you've become such a famous person that it's very hard to get a hold of you. I want to ask you a simple but yet complicated question, maybe. And the question is, because this podcast is all about what Second Life means to us, let me ask you, what does Second Life mean to you?
What does it mean to me? Well, many, many things, but one of them, I think it's new friendship. I have made some wonderful friends on Second Life, really meaningful friends. I have 5 people who are flying from 5 different states who are going to come over next week to help celebrate my 90th birthday.
You said making friendships is what Second Life means to you. A lot of people will ask you, I'm sure they ask you too, they ask me, they ask every one of us, what do you mean friendships? You have never met these people. Can you explain what it means that you actually have met them, that you actually interacted with them in meaningful ways?
For people who do not know Second Life, but they don't know that we have little avatars. So we have our avatars, and we sit around a circle and discuss different questions and lots of things that we discuss and enjoy one another. And the most amazing thing is I have met a few of them, and when you meet them, they're like who they are at the circle.
You mean, although they may look very different with their avatars, when you then meet them maybe later in the physical world, you immediately kind of know who they are.
Right, who they were when I'm palling with them.
Mm-hmm. You think that making your own avatar, the way you feel inside, that's what you said in the video as well, that is really the key, right? I mean, this is one of the big things.
Yeah, and then also I think it gives me the ability to do things that I have not been able to do, that I cannot do anymore. I'm climbing up steps. I'm doing swing dances. I am swimming, hiking, all the things that I love to do, but I haven't been able to do them for years and years and years. That brings all that back to me, and I think that's exciting. And, we dance at the CP swing group that Creative has put on, and that is fabulous. I'm listening to all the songs that I heard when I was a teenager, and I've forgotten them. That was what's surprising, is that I forgot some of those.
And I heard there's very elaborate clothing going on, really kind of glamorous clothing in those dances. I mean, I wouldn't know. I don't even have a tuxedo.
My son comes in a tuxedo whenever he comes to it, yeah. This birthday party that Barbara is giving to me, it is in Second Life. It is formal.
Okay, I'm going to go shopping right now, and rest assured, tell your daughter, Barbie, that I will be impeccably dressed with a custom tailored suit. Absolutely, no flip-flops, no shorts. And I'll see you at the party on Saturday.
Yeah, I think that another meaningful project is that my daughter, my son, and myself are raising funds for the Michael J. Fox Foundation.
And people can also give funds during your party.
Now there's a present I would like, yes.
Okay, you guys heard it. That's the birthday present for Fran. Okay, Fran, thank you so much, and I'll see you at the party.
Okay, thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
The Drax Files Radio Hour with Joe Yardley is a weekly production of Basic Drax Entertainment. The show is supported by Time Portal, SL Artist, Warbug, Bay City You Know for Kids, 01 Heavy Industries Corporation, Extraordinary, Ionic, Maven Homes, Giza Creations, Botanical, Strawberry Sing, Abranimations, Eros Avatars, Caravel Design, The Cube Republic, What Next, Landscapes Unlimited, Fallen Gods Incorporated, and Death Row Designs. Thumbnail by Justin Esparza. Contact the show via Skype, Draxfiles, Avatar Draxfiles, or email radio@draxfiles.com.